Hello, and welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling Podcast. My name is Scott. Of course, I'm joined by Rob, and we are here to talk about Raw turning 30. Rob, that's nice, isn't it? It's catching up with us, it seems. But it is time to talk about a celebration event. And hey, I got some things that I'm very happy about with this show, and some things I was a little bit annoyed about. But I'm sure we'll get into that and much more when we talk about Raw. That came, of course, from Philadelphia last night. So what we're going to do, we're going to hand over to a little intro, and then we'll be back talking all things Monday Night Raw.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.
All right, so as you said, Raw is 30, as they say, or Raw is XXX, as the graphics say, which isn't done too well when you try and look for photos for the show, mate. Let me tell you that much.
Yeah, I can imagine.
A bit of an awkward Google earlier on, but hey, we made it and we've come out the other side. But yeah, it was an interesting show, and I've said on the podcast before, Rob. There was a time a few months ago, maybe a year ago now, that I was saying I don't know if I'll ever watch a full Raw ever again. Or live. Now, I didn't watch the whole thing live. I did watch it all this morning. But let me say, Rob, I did enjoy it. I've got a few kind of criticisms and concerns. But overall, I thought it was a good show. How much have you seen of it, mate?
So I was kind of doing, that thing where you try and keep up with what's going on while you're on Twitter. I was working and getting stuff done last night.
As it was on, sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah. I was getting other editing bits and pieces for another podcast and stuff done. So I was kind of checking up on Twitter. Then I was watching like highlights that WWE put on. Then I was kind of, because I'd seen what happened kind of thing, I was able to, the stuff that I missed, I was able to kind of catch up with relatively quickly today. Ready obviously for the podcast we're doing now. But overall, man, I really enjoyed it. It was a solid episode. It's not, I've seen a lot worse. For anniversaries and stuff.
It's a good start. Oh, mate, yeah. I mean, that's exactly it. I think my biggest point is that it's not going to completely undo and erase the annoyance of Raw 25. But for me, it went a long way to try and do that. It felt like.
Yeah, definitely. However, you can see the shift in how we've had anniversary stuff before to how it was last night. Or today, if you're, would it be today if there was in America? It would have been
it was still last night.
Would it still behind us?
Yeah. Behind us. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm tired. I've had about 4 hours sleep.
Fair enough.
But it was good, man. Like, you can, as I said, you can see the shift in the way they used to do it to the way it's been done now. And I think that's a great good. It's a good way that you can see it's been shifted in a good direction, and it's moving forward, not backwards.
Yeah, I had a brief exchange with Dan earlier by text as well, obviously on this channel as well, and he was basically saying the same thing, that it was they used the legends in a good way to kind of work with the younger talent, which of course we'll go into in a bit more detail. But overall, just before we get started, it did do a lot for me to make up for the mess that was Raw 25. Maybe we'll touch on that throughout the show. But anyway, starts out, of course, with great graphics there. As you can see, Raw is XXX. I think Triple H probably had played a part in that. If there's any era, I think they're going to play off of that, any classic logos. I think for him, it would probably be Raw is War, because, that's when he kind of makes his name as well. So I can see that. But it starts out quite big, Rob, in the sense that we get one of the biggest stars of the wrestling world, in past or present, I guess you can still say. I know he's a controversial figure, don't get me wrong, but hey, I understand WWE thinks it's a good way to start their show. So of course starts, and he never does quite get the pops they're used to for obvious reasons, but hey, we're not here to talk about that at the moment. But the fact is, they brought him out. It wasn't great. because the microphone. and his
justice, isn't it?
was like his act felt corny when they turned him into NWO Hogan, and then it felt but then it felt nostalgic in 02, and then it was it's had these things, and I think because of what's happened to him with him in the past kind of 10 years, it feels a lot more less forgiving as far as how stale and corny the act is. But hey, that was just a brief kind of mention really on Hogan, because he comes out, his appearance was brief. He's with Jimmy Hart. That's always cool to see, to be fair. Go on.
I was going to say, you can always tell where if they take Hogan, if Hogan's there and he's on a show and you know full well the fans might not take to him, the best thing to do is just put Jimmy Hart with him because the fans don't boo him. So it's just an it's like a
Jimmy Hart. He's done nothing wrong.
Exactly. It's like a cushion to soften the blow a bit.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right with that one. Who'd ever thought that would be the case for the immortal Hulk Hogan? But hey, here we go. And then after that, we start out with something big, Rob. And I got to say, this entire thing was phenomenal. And of course, we're talking about the trial of Sami Zayn. Now, a few things to mention here. Now, of course, it was originally going to be the acknowledgement ceremony or whatever it was, wasn't it? And then they changed it. And a lot of rumors that certain people, because they said every generation of the bloodline is going to be there. Of course, got the rumors about The Rock, which I don't think The Rock was ever planned to be here. Whether or not he shows up at Rumble, we don't know. But we are going to be covering the Rumble throughout this week. And of course, if you're watching this live later today as well, doing our predictions. So leaving The Rock stuff aside for now, it seemed like they've changed into the Sami Zayn thing. Now, don't get me wrong. I've loved the Sami Zayn stuff. And I love this. I thought it was executed perfectly. And so was what we're about to get to after this as well. But what does annoy me is that they've gone back to it. Like they had the moment of War Games, and then they've gone back to this. And that's kind of annoying. But hey, again, maybe we'll get into a bit more of that when we talk about the Royal Rumble and beyond. But if you're going to do it well. And my goodness, Rob, did they do it well? I thought this was a fantastic segment.
Yeah. You know, being an Uso fan for a very long time. I was
going to say being an Uso. I thought it was literally going to straight up be like, being an Uso.
No. The way this whole thing was built. And you know, I love Heyman done the majority of the talking, which rightly so. If you know, if he's the perfect microphone champion, let's say, in wrestling right now, then just let him do his bit and then everyone else can bounce off of that, which what they done perfect. But the way they done everything, and he showed Exhibit A, and he said he could keep going on, and he only showed like 3 or 4 bits, and it was Sami being basically a coward. But this is at the beginning, that Sami, or when times were really rough in the bloodline.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And they showed all that, and to be honest, I thought they would show more stuff to do with Kevin Owens. They only showed like 1 or 2 bits.
Yeah, then it goes to the conspiracy of the 4 Life and all this.
And it goes back to conspiracy Sami, right? Which I love. And then Sami cuts his promo, and I thought what was great was he didn't do the Exhibit A and B and all this sort of stuff because it was like a cool thing the way they done it.
I mean, it's just like I ain't gonna bother, which of course Roman would be offended by, but of course Sami is offended enough to be like, look, I don't have to fight my case. I'm sick of doing this sort of thing.
Exactly.
It's so well done that.
And then Jay just coming to make the save and showing and calling him basically bulletproof. Man, what a moment. That promo from Jay, and then Jimmy standing up, and then they doing it. If you want Sami still to be a part of the bloodline, you know, put your ones up, and man, you sucked every single person into that promo, and then the result after was okay. Roman's good, like he's staying as part of the bloodline. But he's like,
I kept thinking, how are they going to end this promo? Because it's like, that's what I'm annoyed about, because they should have had a bit of kind of stability in the bloodline after what happened at War Games, in my opinion. And they've toyed around with him leaving too much. I get that the Kevin Owens thing works well, but it's been a bit too much for me. And I was worried. I was like, well, this is either it'll go somewhere or feel like a segment that fell out on its face. How are they going to get themselves out of this almost? And what they did, like you say, I mean, Solo going for the spike, and then I was terrified. Like I was gripped. I was gripped, thinking, "Oh, this is it." And then Jay jumping in, I did not, because obviously you're thinking, "Are we gonna get If You Smell? Is the Rock thing happening at WrestleMania?" Would he come back tonight? Would it not be at Rumble? Would it be after?
Why would he come back for Sami though? That was my question.
I don't know, but I was like, something needs to happen, but I didn't
Yeah.
think it was going to be Jay, and I thought that was very well done. Of course, the history between the two of them, and then you mentioned earlier on the exhibit showing off just that one extra as well. I thought was really good because Heyman shows 4, Jay shows 5. Like you say, he shows more recent stuff, and it's coming from someone who was really against him anyway. Yeah, man, I thought it was so well done, and I was like, that's how they get out of it, and I think it kind of gets them. This is why I'm worried about them bringing it up now, because you can only get that along so many times. Like, we're basically where we started just before it in some ways, because Roman's still unsure. You know, it weren't going to solve everything because something big's got to happen eventually, and it weren't going to be kind of everything's okay because it's too close. Because surely whatever big's going to happen is now. That's why I think the gap between now and Survivor Series should have been a period where everything was pretty much all good. Maybe the last weeks you could have ramped it up, but went straight into it. So I liked how they got themselves out of it. I thought it was a fantastic segment. Everything, it was emotional, like Sammy's betrayal, Jay sticking up for him, like with the backstory, and then Roman just still being like, you know what, I don't want to see you till Saturday. Like, that was good. And then of course he mentions that again in a moment as well, because of course this storyline isn't done for the night. But just opening segment, mate. Just really enjoyed this one, I'm guessing, as far as Sami and the Bloodline.
Yeah, there's not many times a segment on Raw. You always think, okay, if someone's coming out to start off a show, either you have to knock the ball out of the park, as an American term, or that's it. Like, it starts down and then builds up. This was so good that I thought whatever comes next, good luck. Because
I mean, exactly. Man. I felt like this show was loaded, and I do feel they fall into a few traps as we'll get onto throughout the review, but. Like you say, for them to start this strong and then they go into something pretty strong straight after, and I was like, this is like you say, it felt, I was like, this is reverse. This is too top heavy. Like, this should have been at the end. Then it wasn't, because of what was about to come next. Because you couldn't then go into the match, which would have been like, why have we still got half an hour left? Oh, there must be a match or whatever. So that's pretty much where we go with that. Let's go straight into it. I'm sure that was the next moment, wasn't it? Went straight into
because it went into the match. Went
straight into the match. So of course, the Usos were defending against Judgment Day, and again, there was a few comments a little while ago. People thinking, could this be it? Are they going to take a title off them? Like, how are we doing this with the 2 titles and stuff like that? But it wasn't to be, and that's because Jimmy Uso gets injured. They even do the X, and as soon as they do that, the crowd, their tone changes, but you can still tell, by the way the doctors were acting, by the way Sami was acting and Jay was acting, the ref, you could still tell it's part of the storyline. So I was relieved when I realized that. I guess there's an argument say it shouldn't be used because it's such a serious thing, but hey, this is a whole kind of industry where you're pretending there is pain and stuff like that. Anyway, I mean, not that they don't go through pain, but my point is, there's always broken arms and separated shoulders that don't exist. So anyway, so where's your joy line in kind of like the winking and nudge behind the curtain sort of thing. But anyway, that's what it is. They do it. They commit to the X, and it is I think a clever way to do it. And then Sami steps up, and I'm thinking, no, Sami, no, you've just got out of it. Don't cost them the titles. And I was thinking, can they really do that? Are they really going to cost them the titles going into Royal Rumble? Is this what they're going to do? Surely no, Sami's just going to turn himself because he's had enough, or what's going to happen there? And then for Sami to, I mean, I was on the edge of my seat watching that first match, mate. I was just so kind of captivated, thinking, what is going to happen? Of course, Sami comes up with the goods, and there's a few times where it seems like he's not gonna, and it looks like he is going to be, the victim, and they're going to lose the titles because of him. But the fact that he gets through it, mate, and that he holds up the titles, and I think very well done as well, holds up the titles and then makes a point of giving them to Jay as well. He doesn't want to take over or anything like that. Doesn't want to give them reason to kind of second guess him. Like Heyman did with hand signals and stuff like that. But yeah, first of all, great match. The fact that is that he made me feel like the Judgment Day were going to win it. They made me feel like Sami Zayn could be leaving the bloodline. They may feel like Sami Zayn could become the hero of the story. And the fact that they made me feel all of that within the space of about 5 minutes, I thought it was very, very
crazy,
well done.
Yeah, I
Very well done.
really enjoyed it. This match was solid. I think more though, just for the storytelling of the way they was able to get everyone over, but basically there was like the main story was Sami Zayn or the and all of that, and everything else kind of played underneath it. So there was stories under stories under stories. We've with stuff with Judgment Day, Rhea Ripley, and then obviously we've got Sami Zayn, and then injuries and all that in the whole match, and all of this kind of spawns off of the segment we had just before. And you got to remember in your back of your mind, Sammy has to prove himself to stay in the bloodline. He literally can't put a foot wrong. And then the whole way they built it.
Exactly that. It's such a risk for him to take this on his shoulders and be like, I'll do it. Like, it's so clever. As a character, if you're just talking about character-wise and we're acting as if we're all within the story, like, for Sammy to do that is such a big deal. He's thinking, like, I've just got out of this, but I'm going to go one step further now. And I'm going to prove, like, perfectly written, man. So good, wasn't it?
I'm not going to say it's a criticism, but I would have loved to have seen Sami Zayn do an Uso splash.
Okay,
that's the only thing. Like,
I just
got him doing the 1D as well. Like,
that was cool, wasn't it?
Just so good. The whole storytelling, it was so good. I said the only thing missing was I expected a 1D.
Gotcha.
Sorry, I expected the Uso splash instead of the 1D. Which I thought that would have been real, because he called him like family, and I was like, do you know what? Not a lot of Samoans, but they all do a splash of some kind. If they don't do that, they all do a Samoan drop or a super kick. They have something in them that's down through the
I guess it's enough though to do the double team move, but I get what you're saying.
But it would have just been like, that's a nod to the Samoan heritage of what it is. Other than that though, fantastic. The first two were like, after that, I thought that promo was good. What's following it? Then that match happened. I was like, what's following that? Like, what an opening.
Yeah, fantastic. It was a great way to start the show. And again, like, what a roller coaster of emotion. And that's exactly what you want with wrestling, with any kind of TV show, storytelling. So, credit to the writers, credit to the performance for this one. Again, I'm not thrilled about the fact that we've gone back to the whole is Sammy loyal stuff for so much of this. But when it comes to the execution of the big moments like that, and even the smaller stuff, the stuff that's been going on, it's all been very well done. I wish we weren't doing it all the time. I feel like it should have had a bit more breathing space, but it is what it is. And I guess it's all going to kind of come to a head at some point very soon. Clearly not on Raw, but hey, it could be at the Royal Rumble. And again, if you're watching this live, we'll be doing a Royal Rumble predictions today, 6 p.m. UK time. And hopefully you'll join us for that one as well. If you're watching this on demand, it might have already happened, but check it out when you get a chance. Daniel Wyatt, very much thank you for joining us, mate. Really do appreciate it. What did you think of Raw last night, buddy? Have you seen it yet? It was an interesting show. We've just been talking about the Usos and the Sami Zayn situation, but we're going to move on now to the next segment that we see. What we got here from Daniel, actually, I think Sami and Rhodes will win. Are we talking both titles then? Or are we talking Royal Rumble? What are we talking about there? I guess, it could be what Sami wins one of the world titles and Rhodes wins the other one. Right. We'll be talking about Royal Rumble later on today, Daniel, as well. Hope you're going to be here for that, buddy. But let's move on to the next segment that we see. And it's a big one again, mate. They go straight in with it. We get LA Knight coming out. And very confusing, though, because I've been confused about the whole LA Knight Bray thing anyway, as far as who's the heel, who's the baby face. This was very much a heel thing from LA Knight. This was.
Yeah, so the way I've been taking this story is what I love. It's LA Knight to me clearly is the heel, right? And I guess you would call Bray in the position he's in now is the anti-hero. He would be like the Deadpool-esque.
Okay,
like that's how I compare him. So like he's not the hero, but he's not the villain. He's that guy in between.
Okay.
That's how I would portray him. But the way they're building is we don't know what Bray we're getting. Because only last week we got Firefly Funhouse Bray, and then all of a sudden he's
having an identity
got
crisis.
a bit evil, he really is. And like he's mentally corrupting himself. And I think the fact that we don't know what's coming next would be exactly the way where, as character Bray, he doesn't know who he is 1 week from next week from this week to this week. Like He's continuously changing. So this whole build against LA Knight is, for me, is fantastic. Everyone's moaning now. It's like, we want to see him fight. We want to see him do something. But the minute we've done it, this story's over. Like, and if they've spent all this time with the White Rabbit stuff and then the build up for this and Bray, and this is long-term storytelling. And I know people hate it, and and I get that. But for me, I'm loving every minute of it, especially. And if you're going to put Bray with anyone, it needs to be a good talker. And I think you can't get any better at the moment of fresh guys like LA Knight. And that guy can.
I mean, we said when it first started out, well, when Bray first come back and then when this feud started out, like the risk is that people were too into Bray and LA Knight's only kind of find his feet really on his main roster with his old character back, So it's an interesting thing to do. It is risky, but I'm with you. I think it has been going well. As far as the match and the kind of feud, it goes a little bit deeper. We'll go into that a bit more on the Rumble. But we're talking about not getting hands on each other and stuff like that. We see a little bit of that here, courtesy of the American Badass. Of course, we're talking about the Undertaker, who, first of all, Rob, we hear the gong because I think that is the more
symbolic
and recognizable thing with the Undertaker. Even though when he was the American Badass, he didn't really use that much of his old kind of persona. But then they go into the song American Badass, which I was pleasantly surprised to hear because, of course, Kid of the Attitude Era, when he was using the American Badass theme from Kid Rock before he moves on to Rollin', I think a lot of people forget about the American Badass because he only used it for like a few months. So he went away from it pretty quickly. So it's cool to see that back. It was a bit of an edited version as well, as far as the way it jumps into the chorus. I think it was cut a little bit, but so it felt a little sloppy in ways. And also, the fans didn't respond to it as well as they would have 20 years ago when people knew the song. So that was a bit of a disappointment for me. But hey, as a fan of the American Badass and of the Attitude Era, and of basically that kind of era of music, as cheesy as some of that stuff can be, I really enjoyed it.
Look, for the moment itself and what he done for Bray, a lot of people saying that's a pass of the torch. Taker whispered something to Bray.
He did.
I'm not sure what was said. And I love the fact that Taker set up to do the choke slam and instead threw him to Bray, and then we got the sister habit. Like it was literally of a passing of, now is your time. And I do love that. But for me, I'm not against this segment at all. If we get to see a dead man roll out, or on a bike, or take a 10-minute long walk down to the aisle like we normally do, and he's all in his like dead man, I'm for it. If Taker just makes sporadic appearances like that for every couple of years, I'm happy. Because he's not damaging his legacy. He's not putting himself in risk.
And it makes more sense to do it within the American Badass thing as well. Or the more kind of real life version that he did. The mixture between them. So,
what did they call it?
The Boneyard match.
My only criticism is one, they used the Kid Rock song, right? Now, if you're going to use that, fine, but doing the gong and then trying to transition into it, for me, didn't work. They could have either done. Do you remember when they used to do the beginning bit and they used to say, he's here? He's
here. That's what I thought as well.
They should have done the gong, let that fade out, and then do the he's here. Because everyone would have known that. It just seemed like such a rush thing of, are we getting Taker? Are we getting Taker? Yeah, he's coming. Right, we'll do an edit. Like, it just seemed so unpolished compared to, I mean, what we normally get.
I think idea, great execution, not so much.
I mean, but
also even with him coming out on the bike, it's a big hefty bike. He barely got through the entranceway. He's pedaling along with his foot like he's a Flintstone. Do you know what I mean? It was I mean, he's done that before. He did that back in the day as well. It's tight. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's easy to do that kind of thing. Driving a beast like that down to around the ring in tight spaces. But I think with the kind of unpolished feeling of the theme, I think it all added this package of. Imagine how many people in this audience are thinking, I wish I was seeing proper Taker. Which I don't. I'm glad we saw American Badass.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved American Badass. My only thing would have been, like, if they were going to do the Kid Rock one, they should have done the He's Here first. Because I think that's more of the way they done it, right? But for me, if you're getting the American Badass Taker, okay, yes, Kid Rock was first for the music, but you should have used Rollin'. Like,
I think it's because
it's
It's literally in the name, and it's tough because they would have had to pay for rights specially to have it anyway. I think that's probably why they moved on to Rollin'. I mean, Rollin' was a huge song at the time, but they moved away from the Kid Rock one for a reason. And both of those songs didn't really get featured on much after that, as far as like re-released DVDs, and Rollin' did more than the Kid Rock one. But yeah, so maybe it was something to do with that, and they thought it's a one-off, and they just. But yeah, I don't know. I did like that he used American Badass because it's a cool song and it fit the character at the time, and I thought the graphic in the background looked really cool as well. But yeah, let's move back onto the Bray Wyatt thing then, mate, because what do you think he said? Because initially I would look at that and go, he just said something like behind the scenes. He was just saying, hey, blah, 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 go get him, kid. He maybe said pass on the I don't know what he said, right?
Hey.
But the fact that the commentators mentioned it made me think, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
You want us to recognize that?
Yeah, exactly.
What are you thinking about it?
He could have been asking about buffalo wings. He could have, I don't know, where's the nearest, what's the best takeout? Is there a Popeyes nearby?
He could have been asking who's going to win at the Royal Rumble. He could have been wanting to know, like us. Quickly, I'll get to Daniel's comment here as well. It says, I think Rose and Sami would be the final two. Roman would attack Sami and I want to return. Just my prediction. Daniel, we're going to get into that in depth later on because I like the idea of that.
Come back
for the final two because I like the idea of Sami. Yeah, I like the idea of Sami holding out and trying to like be the representative to stop Rhodes, and then he's expected to give up his spot or something like that. But again, we'll get into that when we do a Rumble preview. But yeah, thank you, Daniel, for your prediction there. That's a very interesting one. We'll definitely pick back up on. But yeah, with this Bray Wyatt kind of exchange between him and the Undertaker, I do think it probably was just nothing, but it made me
was
wonder.
Something. It was definitely something because you can read his mouth say like forever or something like that. You can lip read him say forever, but not the rest. So something must have been said. Like to me, there's something there.
I think what's interesting as well is that it's not the Undertaker that there was always this talk of passing the torch because supernatural character. Yet they faced off against each other and Bray lost, and now they did a moment, and Undertaker's not even the supernatural Undertaker; he's American Badass anyway. So
yeah,
I mean, yeah, we know his background and his history of the supernatural side of him. So yeah, you can see that as a passing of the torch if you know. But as an on-screen moment, those things don't really match up as well if the Undertaker's playing the American Badass at that time. You know, and Bray is maybe arguably in his kind of spookiest period. He's always been kind of spooky, but this time he's got, you know, Uncle Howdy going on and jumping around personalities and stuff like that. So, yeah.
I mean, do you know what? It's one of those things where I want to know what he said, but at the same time, I really don't want to know what he said.
Yeah, I think it's a behind the scenes thing.
Mystery.
I think it is behind the scenes thing. I don't think it's anything to do with storyline, but I just found it weird that the commentators acted as if it was, you know. A few more comments here. Once again, Daniel, thank you for your comments, mate. Anyone watching live or on demand, drop your comments. Let us know what you thought of Raw. Bloodline stuff was amazing last night. I would say the same, Daniel. I think it was the highlight of the entire show for me, even though we're going to get in some more interesting pieces throughout the night, I'm sure, as well. If WWE can't get a Rock from Mania, apparently it could be Stone Cold Steve Austin. Yeah, so those rumors started coming out yesterday, actually, about Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, the fact that scene, if that is true, that means Rock is a doubt. And that's the only worry about that. Hey, I'd love to see Austin do something again and be at Mania. It doesn't need to be a Roman match for me. And it would feel like a replacement of The Rock. So
I don't even want The Rock, to be honest.
You don't want The Rock?
Nah.
All right. Now, okay.
We said this on the stream when we was doing the watch along for 2013.
Yeah.
I had my gripes then. Now, if you think my gripes are going to change now, 10 years later, when we still don't need The Rock, it doesn't.
Nah,
we don't need him.
No. I'm ready to fight you on this, Rob. Look, we don't need The Rock, but it would be very, very beneficial in so many ways.
For Roman,
for the WWE, it would be very.
I understand the benefit, right? And obviously, I don't want to go on a tangent, and we'll try and stay on Raw, right? But
Yeah, you weren't even there,
What-
mate. Come on.
What purpose? So if let's say we get, for example, it's a parcel of the torch and a Rock does this and
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I get it. I appreciate it, right?
Right.
Rock is the most well-known and famous Samoan, and he's done
Yeah.
this, and he's the biggest in the family. I get it. It's
Mhm.
not taking Roman off the pedestal. But answer me this, truly. If it is Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania, and Roman has both titles, and it's night 2, and Roman's overcome, what if something happens on night 1, and then at the end of night 2, you really want to see The Rock standing at the top,
I want him to lose. I want him to lose.
Then there's no, what's the point? Because if Rock goes
passing
against
the
Roman,
torch.
yeah, but then if there's a part, there has to be a better story than that. Like, it doesn't even
What's
be for
better
the
than
title.
that?
If it's for the title, it needs to be, in my opinion, if it's for a title, it needs to be night 1. And it's not going to be night 1 because Rock is such a diva. He wants to be the main event to end.
You don't know.
So
that.
if you're going to get,
You
bro, come
don't
on
know
now.
that.
You know full well that's how it's going to be. The only, like, it doesn't. I can't see it.
I worry that could be the case. Don't get me wrong, but that doesn't mean
The Rock ain't gonna. The Rock will come that pack for a big ass payday, right? And we know he would.
I think he'd put over his cousin. I think he would do it on night 1. I think it will be on night 2 if it happens. But yeah,
I think if Rock's coming back, he needs to lose on night 1. That's it. Like, he can't. Like, if he's night 2, then Rock's winning. Because it doesn't make sense for him.
Yeah, because I think, and then Cody needs to be the bigger moment on night 2. But anyway, we need The Rock because it'd be passing the torch. I agree with you there, Daniel. No Rock versus Roman night 1, Cody versus night 2. Yeah, so I think we're all in agreement that should be how it's done. But I think your fear of it not going that way means you kind of just don't want any of it just in case. It seems.
I would rather not have The Rock. I mean,
no, because I think even that could still be done. No, the benefits
go back
outweigh
and
the
watch
negatives.
along, and then like when we 2013 when we done the Rumble, right?
Yeah,
and the whole way they done it with Punk, and it was just a forced moment, and I was like, it just doesn't need it.
No, but it's about but it's about the story between Reigns and Rock. Yeah. The problem with the Punk one, it was about Cena.
Yeah,
it ruined.
So
Punk's,
we had the issue.
Title reign because of to get to a different story. This would enhance that very same story.
Right, but every time the Rock has had every time there's Rock has been interviewed, and they said like it was like Van Vliet, Chris?
Van Vliet, yeah.
Yeah, Van Vliet, right?
There we go. Yeah.
Vliet, yeah. He said you acknowledge Roman, and he was like, yeah, he's doing wonderful stuff. And I'm thinking you're either in it, wink, wink, or you're not, and you don't give a damn. And at the moment, I think Rock appreciates that his family are doing well and all this stuff. At the same time, if something needs to be said, drop a seed, like plant something. Like, no, I don't acknowledge him. Like, there has to be a build for the all of a sudden. Because all of a sudden, for the past 2 years, Rock hasn't said anything, and then all of a sudden, how far does Roman have to go?
No, I've to be fair,
Rock to then go, I've now got a problem. So for the past,
I thought the same. I thought the same in that sense. If Rock just shows up, it will look like last time you were here, you guys were fine. But he would just say, "Well, you're not. You've turned into what you shouldn't." You know.
But he's been like that for 2 years, man.
Like, I know, but they can't just. I mean, they've dropped. If you want hints, they've even dropped hints in Young Rock. You know, people are looking into that, but. No.
You can't all of a sudden then come back and go, oh, now I have a problem. You're not gonna. I'm the head of the table.
Yeah, but people do that all the time. He'll come back. Yeah, people come back and people turn heel. People turn on that person saying, since I've been gone, you turned into a twat. That happens all the time.
Yeah, look, and I get it. If it was Owens and Sami Zayn, right, or whoever, Seth and Ambrose, whenever I get it. That would make sense for them. But if this is a passing of the torch, the moment can't be, oh, I don't like the route you've gone down. There has to be more. It has to be deeper.
No, that's the route. That is the story. That's it. You are ruining our family's legacy. You think you're the big shot, but you're not. You still have to beat me. You haven't proven yourself to anyone. Like, you've done great here, but I'm the big dog in the family. Like, that is there, Rob. Right. I don't know what more you'd want.
No, but if that's the build, then Rock doesn't need to be at Rumble. Because there's already a reason.
No,
and this is my issue.
No, he doesn't need to be.
And this is my issue. People are too busy.
Exactly.
Want Rock at Rumble.
Traditionally, people think, the Rumble's a great way to return. I think the Rumble should be the Rumble, and Cody should win, or whatever happens there.
Whoever, yeah.
And then again, we'll talk about Rumble later on. That's true today, but I do think, and I think Rock should just come back on like Raw or something like that, or
But then the big issue then follows. Rock comes back on a Raw, and then he lays this challenge down to Roman or whatever, right? We then fall into this trap again of, well, Rock's got a championship match, and all he's done is just walk through the door. What about all these other young guys that have been throwing their body at the canvas for like the last year, 2-3 years, and they've got nothing? So then it falls back.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, they've gone through so much that Kevin Owens is getting another Royal Rumble match against him. So I wouldn't say that.
But do you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just walk in and get a title shot.
No,
like,
but
for me, I just don't like it. If we're moving forward with the company,
look, hey, we said before it didn't need to be.
Back.
Yeah, the match doesn't need to be for the title. It doesn't need to be for the title, but Roman still has the title.
I think this happens at SummerSlam.
Yeah, I'd prefer it had nothing to do with the title, and I'd prefer if Rock. I don't want Rock to help Cody win. I want Cody to win on his own accord, but it is what it is. Let's get to a few more comments here as well. We've got Daniel says, if we don't see Rock at Rumble or Mania, I will never watch WWE again. Wow, Daniel really wants to see The Rock. At the Rumble, The Rock could say, like, I'm the real head of the table and you haven't been, so me versus you, man. Exactly, that's all you need. I agree with Daniel. That's all you need.
Then Roman needs to drop the titles before Mania.
Yeah, but you can't because it's Mania.
Exactly. So this has to happen after Mania, bro. Like, it can't.
Yeah, I know, but you can't not.
Both.
But again, the reason why we're doing this, it seems, if it's going to happen, is because it's WrestleMania. It has, like, it's so big. It's WrestleMania, and it's in Hollywood. Like, come on,
right? But you have, and I get it, right? But Rock can't go just walk in and say it's me versus you for this, and unless the stipulation is it's me versus you, the titles are irrelevant. If this match is bigger than the titles, then they have to market it as it's not a title match. It's The Rock versus Roman, but head of the table.
That's exactly what we were saying when we were doing a watch along for Royal Rumble 2013. That Rock Cena didn't need titles, even for the second time. But
this doesn't need a title.
It changed things, and kind of you could argue it in some way. But hey, it is what it is. Look, we're going to be going into this in more detail when we cover the Royal Rumble, I'm sure. Later today, again, if you're watching live,
you'll come back because you'll get some real good content.
Because I'll be seething by then. It'll be 6 p.m. UK time. So wherever you are in the world, Google it and you'll find what time we're live. But if you're watching live or on demand today, we really do appreciate it. So if you joined us after it's been recorded, check it on this channel, of course. As well. Quickly, Daniel also says triple threat for the title, Cody Rock, but Cody pins Rock, so Roman hasn't lost. Hey, that's a way to get out of some issues there, but the match is them 1 versus 1.
The problem is with Daniel's comment. If that didn't happen with Daniel Bryan and Edge, I would have been like, it's a good idea. Yeah. But we've only had that recently, so I just feel like we can't do that again so soon.
All right, well, let's get back onto Raw. What we're supposed to be talking about here.
You've gone quiet. I can't hear you unless it's me. I think so Scott can hear me, but I can't hear it. Are you back? No, he's gone again. I still can't hear you. Right, technical issues. There you go. Are you back? There we go. I can hear you. He got so angry he pulled out his cables.
Right, we were talking about Raw. We're back to Raw. Very badass. In between all this, though, we did see the typical stuff with the legends in the background. Usually there would be a party or something like that. Clever way to do it here. And I've done lives before, haven't they? Because done plenty of segments like this anyway, whether or not they're anniversaries or not. It was having a card game with the APA in the back, which I really enjoyed. A lot of faces we saw there. Not highlighted that much, but we saw DDP, for example. That was really cool.
I questioned that as well,
Go on.
Just DDP. No, because DDP was an AEW guy when Cody went over.
This guy woke up and chose violence. Here, like, you're right, yeah.
And then DDP was in the background, and I was like, and they're announcing Cody's got a return.
Yeah, so I did think.
Are we going to get the Nightmare Family? Is that going to happen?
Nah, I think.
Nah.
I think Cody would have come back I thought Cody might come back on Raw. I thought it would have been good for him to come back on Raw. But I guess they want the moment and that you don't know when it is, but you know he's coming. So, but again, that's Rumble talk. It's hard not to talk about the Rumble here. It's hard not to kind of refer too much to the Rumble, even while on the show, because it's about the anniversary. And I think every time you have an anniversary Raw, you're going to fall into a similar trap, you know? And again, just quickly touching on that, Raw 25 put me off of watching Raw. Like I've said it on this channel before that I didn't want to watch Raw anymore, and the biggest problem with this one, again, too long. But this show, and I'll kind of wrap this up at the end with my final thoughts. But like this show, kind of worked on a lot of the problems that I felt Raw 25 had. But anyway, let's go back to what we actually saw here at Raw 30. Of course, a lot of the backstage segments were Hall of Famers. That was really cool. And speaking of Hall of Famers, you got to get your obligatory. Are you ready? And here come the Generation X. But Rob, it's DX with a difference because we get a brand new member in Kurt Angle. That's right, buddy. Kurt Angle is now, I guess.
I love Kurt in this moment.
Now, I mean, he's making his way through the stables, isn't he? He's been in the Shield. He's had his own team Angle. And now he's a fully fledged member of DX, it seems, up there with Hornswoggle. It is. And yeah, what? I mean, look, it was a wild time, Angle. It was what? Sorry.
It was a wild time for a while with DX.
They kept trying different things. Yeah, well, it was just Shawn and Triple H, and they went, you know what? Let's try it. Yeah. Anyway, but really good little segment in the way it was handled. Like joking, the wink of a lot of things. Triple H saying, "Look, it's hard booking." Teddy Long came out, which was fantastic. I mean, yes, you could argue he's a SmackDown guy, like we associate him with SmackDown, but hey, it is where it is. Great to see him either way. And of course, he sets up a tag match. And I liked all of them basically being like, I can't do it. I ain't fighting him. Like, I'm too old. I'm retired. I'm this, I'm that. And of course, they end up bringing out Seth Rollins. And then they are joined, of course, by the Street Profits. Now, we get a decent little match here. And probably a much better way to use DX than they did at Raw 25. Even though I got what they were doing, it just felt a bit self-serving. But what we got here was a lot better. Cool to see Kurt Angle fine. It didn't make sense. It actually annoyed me when I saw Kurt with him at first until I got where they were going with it. And I thought, okay, because like it was weird enough not having Billy Gunn a few months back. Weird enough not having him now again. You know what I didn't like? That we were wearing random DX tops, the more recent ones. Now I get that's what they're trying to sell, but like he was wearing the 25th anniversary of DX shirt. He could have just worn the classic DX logo, but hey, it is what it is. These are minor things. But speaking of his attire, of course, he wears a special ref outfit as well.
I love that shirt.
And I really liked. I guess like you could argue that the problem with Raw 25 was the FTR stuff, like in the revival at the time, how they kind of buried them. This time it didn't feel the same way. I worried for Imperium because of what happened at Raw 25, but I think Imperium got out of it a lot better than FTR did. A few comments here as well. I hope Sandy gets kicked out of Bloodline because he isn't bloody half there from Daniel. And we've got our own Dan here as well. If you ain't down with that, I have 2 words for you. You suck. Hey, clever. But yeah, it was it was a good little segment. Great seeing kind of put over young guys, not like Raw 25 exactly that, Dan. I think we're on the same page there with that. But overall, Rob, what did you think of this segment and match?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Seth coming out and being a part of them, where a couple of years ago that was the complete opposite. Seth was against Triple H and stuff. Obviously, there's connections there with the Authority and the Plan B and all this stuff, and Seth turning and getting the Seth that we know and love now. So there's history there. I just love Seth coming out. It was just, for me, it just felt like it was a cheesy DX segment. And do you know what? As much as we need to take wrestling serious at times, these segments just really remind me of how much I loved these guys growing up. It was just like before, what didn't there used to be more of us? And it's just things like that.
Like
and
play up, exactly. Play up to it.
If and only there was someone that could make a match. You know, it's just
exactly. That. And when he goes and he chooses Billy Gunn, and it's like, oh wait, Kurt. You know, like it was, and the fact that they all choose Kurt to go against him as well, like you know, like against Walter as well. You know, like
it's great. Like I absolutely loved it. The whole segment it really made me just think, man, I missed that. Like there's sometimes, you know, when you just think you don't need it every week, but sometimes you just think, well, that was nice. It was just refreshing, just to get them get them back, get the band back together for a night.
Yeah.
You know,
I will say though, just like some of the other ones we've seen, they've become too frequent, and it does get a little bit annoying for me. Like, again, look, this comes from the person that loved DX. One of the biggest reasons I'm a wrestling fan. But at some point, it's like it's a bit cheesy and uncomfortable. So when they twist it up and they do different things like this, I'm all for it. Daniel says he pressed like on the video. Thank you very much, Daniel. Much appreciated, mate. We always appreciate you joining us, buddy. Everyone else that's watching live with us now or on demand, however you're watching along, we really do appreciate it. Drop your comments. Again, let us know what you thought of Raw 30, because I thought it was a very interesting show where we're getting through it as we go along. But if you want to talk about something we've already touched on or something we're yet to get to, that's fine. We'll kind of throw things around here as we go along. But the DX segment with Kurt Angle, with Rollins, with Street Profits, I thought it was a very good thing to get a lot of guys over, and of course did very well for Imperium as well. Speaking of Imperium, I really like them kind of having some part of a comedic thing, because I don't think people realize that I think they're quite funny guys. Just from spending a bit of time with them when I got to interview the guys in Cardiff as well. Of course, if you haven't already, check that out on this channel. They're fun guys. They really are. And I know they're intimidating, and don't get me wrong, they are quite scary. But I do think that they got a sense of humor about themselves, and they can play off of DX really well, because, Gunther is saying, using the word sport, you're damaging our sport, you're making an embarrassment of our sport. And I thought it was a very nice kind of mix between the current heel and the former, the legend babyface. And when you get that, and they do it quite well, WWE, it works out. Again, an example where it didn't work out, Raw 25, but Raw 30, they got the balance pretty spot on. Speaking of which, next up we get Charlotte Flair, introduced by, of course, her father. Good way to kind of get him onto the show as well, in a position that made sense, but didn't take away from anyone, but instead just kind of, was there to kind of, have the theme song hit and hit a few catchphrases. So I'm all for that as well. Go on.
Sorry. Two things. One, what are you thinking of Flair's music now? Are you enjoying it yet? Is it growing on?
As in Charlotte Flair?
Yeah.
No, I still hate it. It's crap.
Unbelievable. Oh, it's only me that likes it.
Yeah, I should tell you something, mate.
Another thing.
Yeah.
Did someone sneeze on Ric Flair before he walked out? Because boy, was that a lot of green. That was.
The suit are you talking about?
Yeah, man. I understand he gets dripped.
It reminded me of the suit that Jeff Jarrett wore. Was it for the Hall of Fame? The one that looked like a cow. But anyway, it is what it is. Cool to see Flair there. Good way to get him involved again with his daughter. Nice, easy kind of entry into it there. Thought they did well to bring out Bianca Belair here as well, and kind of, be like, well, Raw's my house. I go here now, and all that stuff. Works out really well for that. And then, of course, we end up getting a match out of it, not between Charlotte and Bianca, but instead between Bianca Belair and Sonya Deville. What did you think of that, mate?
Yeah, it was all right. It was. It felt like it was a match that was kind of thrown on the fly, as an impromptu kind of thing. But I have a criticism with it. Not that this match wasn't good. Like it done what it needed to do. It delivered. Both of them really delivered. Sonya Deville wrestling again, fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, that's what I'm happy to see. Yeah.
However, later on we don't get the cage match, and I felt like this match didn't need to happen because the cage match was on a booked at that point. So that's my. I mean, do you take one women's match to give us another one, or do you take the other women's match and not give us the other? Like, how do you pick and choose that?
So the rumor is that the first bit went over and they had to kind of reshuffle. Yeah. So now, and it's either you have a quick cage match or you have a match where you have a cage match that doesn't happen, basically. And I guess what they did made sense, but it felt very, very disappointing to advertise. It's annoying when they advertise a match and they take it away anyway, especially if it's one you're looking forward to. And if it's a cage match, a stipulation, they even made a point of saying it's the first cage match between women in 19 years, I think, on Raw or something like that. It was like you're making up these big stats about it, and then you take it away from us. And maybe even at that point, they didn't know they were taking it away from us, but it was disappointing. And again, when you look at this and you think, that didn't need to happen. It was good. And that happened a lot throughout this night. I felt like, and again, this has come from someone that doesn't really watch Raw anymore. I only watch the highlights. It felt like they weaved moment into moment quite well. They were like, this person's going to face against this person, and they're going to jump out of it, and this person's going to jump in. Because, of course, what we see next as well is Alexa Bliss backstage talking to Bianca Belair. And, of course, this is a match we'll be previewing later on today on our Royal Rumble prediction podcast as well.
But different looking Alexa as well, like that doesn't look like normal Alexa, if you know what I mean. I don't know if it's the lighting, the way they've done it, or the way that they had the makeup done, but it looks different. Like,
I find it interesting that they acknowledged Uncle Howdy and Bray Wyatt. That they just straight up being like, yeah, she's kind of involved in that, like she acknowledged it. Bianca acknowledged it. So again, whether or not we get something at the Rumble, we'll have to see. But again, that is for our podcast later today, guys. If you're live, we'll be coming back here at 6 p.m. UK time. So in just over 4 hours, actually, to talk all things Royal Rumble. We'll be covering it in depth this week as well, of course, with our build-up show on the night of the event. And also with our recap and review. So again, if you're new here, we'd appreciate if you subscribed. We'd appreciate if you joined us later on today. If you're watching on demand, it may already be out. So check the subscription feed if you have subscribed as well. Again, on the night of the PLE, we'll do our build-up show, which is always a fun time. They're just kind of chaotic wrestling podcast. So if you're into that sort of thing, join us for that. We go over last-minute kind of predictions, anything that changes, of course, between now and SmackDown and the Royal Rumble, and also last-minute rumors. It's always Garrett and the Rumble because the rumors are flying around everywhere on the night of the Rumble, so that'll be fun to do. And of course, the next day we'll be back as well for a recap and review. But if you're not, if your Rumble fix isn't quite attained just through that, if your first isn't quenched, I should say, we've got retro Rumble content on this channel as well. If you fancy going back and watching a Rumble from 10 years ago, along with us, then we've got our watch along on this channel as well. But of course, what we're doing right now is the recap and review of a Monday Night Raw, Rob. We don't usually do this, but again, I thought, since I'm actually watching a full Raw and it's a special one, and we're in the Rumble season, I thought it'd be a good time for us to come on and kind of do a little bonus podcast for our subscribers and hopefully a few followers that are joining us for the first time as well. Now, of course, throughout the night, like I said, we jump back and forth between backstage segments of the APA and stuff like that. Can't quite remember where they happen, but they happen. Anything else you want to mention about that before we move on? Because I don't want to miss anything big that happens with it. But my recollection is that they have the door frame, which is always fun.
I've got one criticism.
Right. You seem to have a lot of one criticisms. What's going on today, Rob?
Look, the backstage segments, like with the APA and the poker and all that stuff, I love it. Like, I remember I used to love watching that.
Barry Corbin, that was funny.
Yeah. One of my favorite moments, just from the APA in general, when we used to have the backdoor segment in 2000, and that Crash Holly, when he comes in and he threatens them that if you come near me over the Rumble, he's throwing them over the top rope. Like, that is one of my favorite Crash Holly moments before the hardcore stuff happened. And when they're smoking the cigars, and then I think they show each other numbers or something like that, and then they say damn, and just that whole moment with just the door frame cracked me up, and I loved it. I loved seeing
especially when they make people walk back around to use it.
Yeah. But my only criticism was, like, Ron Simmons got Bradshaw, a JBL, to pay to get in. Now he should have let him in and made Baron Corbin pay, because they got the closeness, like, from the APA. So I just thought, why is Bradshaw paying?
Yeah, like, I also thought that was weird, because he was like, you're running this place, like, Ron, like, all right. It kind of worked in that sense, but it was strange that every other time we've seen this, they are back as the APA. But this time, Farouk just went, I'm doing the APA thing, and JBL was like, I didn't realize. That was a bit strange.
Like, I didn't get the memo.
Like, hey, how you doing? Like, I ain't seen you in a while, sort of thing. It's like, okay, that was a bit strange.
That was my only thing of they could have done that, and then done and then got as so they said, you can come in, and as they both went to walk in, Bradshaw walked in, and then he kind of looked at Corbin and was like, well, you've got to pay. Like, do you know what I mean? It was like, he can get in, but you can't. Like, you got to pay. And I just thought that would be a typical APA moment, and we didn't get it. And I was like, it's just a lost thing.
Again, it is a minor thing, isn't it? Because you're right. I wish they didn't do it that way, but it was still executed quite well. Dan says here, talking about the fact we're covering a Raw, of course, something we don't usually do in the pods on the channel all these days. Says, bring back later SmackDown. Of course, a show that Dan used to host on this channel where we did cover Raw more frequently. Hey, maybe that could be in the in the pipe work for later at some point, Dan. That'd be interesting. Of course, the channel is growing. We're getting a lot more content lately. Not only getting to interview great WWE talent, we've also recently covered AEW, covered New Japan, doing a podcast. We've got more new shows coming throughout the year as well. So it's a really exciting time to be here on this journey with us at the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. Daniel Wiley says, I want Becky to win a title, but I don't know if she should be Bianca or Charlotte. Hey, I'd be happy with none of those women that you just mentioned that have a title. Because they're all fantastic. But let's try something else. You know what I mean? And this is coming from, again, someone that, I think Charlotte gets a bad rap. I think she's fantastic. Look, I understand where it comes from at times. I think Becky is one of the greatest of all time. And I really enjoyed her work with Bianca Belair. I got to, be in her presence a few months ago again. So if you haven't seen it already, check out the interview there where I pretty much fanboy out, at Bianca Belair saying I wanted to be just like her. if you're confused by that, check out the interview. That's how much I like Bianca Belair. But the point is, they've had the titles for a while. Let's move them on to someone else. But hey, Daniel, if that's what you want to see, fair enough, buddy. We all like different flavor ice cream, and that's okay. Hey, no, I like those flavors, but sometimes you want a break. That's all I'm saying. Dan says, also, if you haven't already managed to great see KO paying tribute to Jay Briscoe. I didn't actually notice that. He paid tribute to Jay Briscoe, did he? Because, of course, I saw on SmackDown he did. Was he just wearing the armband again?
Yeah.
Maybe that's what he's referring to. But yeah, that is actually the next segment we're going to be talking about, Dan. So good time in there. And we actually might see. Yeah, there we go. He's still wearing the Jay Briscoe armband.
Oh, yeah.
That's lovely to see there as well. Of course, it's a segment with The Miz. Quick mention there on Jay Briscoe, because we haven't had a chance to do it. When the news broke, it was about 2 a.m. at the time. And I actually debated going live. It was, it was a very emotional thing, and it's a very sad thing. And look, everybody's kind of spoken on it already, but I feel a bit wrong not mentioning it whatsoever on the channel. Spoke about, of course, in depth on my Instagram and on Twitter as well. And this isn't me trying to just plug myself or anything like that, but basically it's a story at the time that me and Dan did get to meet the Briscoes and how kind they were to us, and gave us a great interview, of course, on the main Rebellious Noise channel as well. Before, if you're new here, basically we are part of the Rebellious Noise family. We have different channels covering football, film and TV, music and stuff like that, food and drink, and pro wrestling. And we split our channels into individual ones. And of course, you're here on Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. But before we split it, we put all of our wrestling content on the main channel, and basically check that out, because we had a great interview with the Briscoes where they actually called out the Usos, and it's surreal even talking about it, mate. I'm heartbreaking. So yeah, of course, we want to send our condolences, as we did on Instagram and as we did on Twitter and Facebook, to the Pugh family, of course, aka the Briscoe family, and a speedy recovery, of course, to his daughters. And just want to say, Jay Briscoe was one of a kind as far as in ring and on the mic. Unbelievable, but a one of a kind human being as well. Just going through the personal experience of spending a little bit of time with him. I cannot praise him highly enough. But anything you want to mention about Jay Briscoe as well here, mate?
Look, I love any match that you get to see with the Briscoes. They were there for one reason only to deliver. I don't think there was ever a match where people complained the match wasn't good enough. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was, they put on a show every single time. I wasn't a part of the Rebellious Noise team, obviously, at that point where you were doing interviews and all that sort of stuff. Then before kind of split up and we become what we're doing now. But yeah, I remember watching that interview, and I remember messaging you after, because when you put it up, and then the Usos liked the tweet, did you put it out on the tweet? And
they did a little emoji, didn't they?
Yeah. And I remember speaking to you after. I was like, bro, what that could do just for the channel. Yeah, no,
and it did a lot for us. We're still getting views to this day and stuff like that. And again, I'm not trying to kind of take away from anyone else's grief or kind of piggyback off of anything here. I'm just bringing it up to explain that. And I said it again, not trying to plug my post, but if you read my post, you'll hear me go in more depth and more detail of it. But basically what I was saying in that, the gist was, they were so nice to us. And I think they didn't need to give us that headline.
I was about to say, if it felt like they were.
He knew
what he was doing.
I like to think so. And whether or not he planned, basically, yeah, he didn't get, as I said in that tweet, he didn't need to give, you know, a couple guys from London, random guys like that, a headline like that. But anyway, it was a fantastic interview. Great spending time with the guys. Again, you know, hope and pray the best for him. And yeah, thank you, Jay, for that moment. Thank you for your kindness, and thank you for your incredible body of work. I think a lot of us have been going about the past few days, coming up to a week now, just watching some amazing highlights and kind of promos, and yeah, that's how we got to remember the man. And yeah. So with that being said, of course, Dan was referring to KO's tribute to Jay Briscoe. Of course, a lot of these people, this is the thing, so many people come up with these guys, you know, 20 years in business, that's what's going to happen. And for a place like Ring of Honor, where a lot of these kind of mainstays in the WWE and AEW came from as well. But yeah, he was referring to the armband, as we see there, and nice little tribute there. And I've got to say as well, quick before we move on from that, I'm very pleased to see how much WWE have let people express their condolences and actually actively did it themselves as well. It was a great thing to see.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I'm not saying that Vince wouldn't have allowed that, because we had like Eddie Guerrero armbands and some other people, or black bands for certain things and stuff. But I think nowadays, back then it was, let's say for example 2005 with Eddie, social media wasn't such a prominent thing. So there was like, okay, well, let's say someone died from this company, they'll acknowledge it, but that was it.
Yeah, because there was sometimes where we only got the start graphic, and sometimes where we got nothing. When
some people were
their former stars. You know what I mean? It's so yeah, for two guys that never actually worked for him to get that much.
Obviously they were mentioned on SmackDown. Michael Cole spoke about them on SmackDown, and then allowed the wrestlers to have obviously the freedom to be more open to talk about it on Twitter. And then some of them have worn armbands or done like a tribute in the ring to them. And I just think it's beautiful, man. Like, the freedom to be able to do that and know that they're doing it for their friend and in remembrance of them, as opposed to like, it's just us and you can't talk about anyone else. Like, I'm so glad we're past that and they've held that ability to have the freedom.
100%. Yeah. And again, lovely tribute here, and good to see them continue as well. And I imagine we might still get a bit more at the Royal Rumble, because there'll be a lot of people that probably haven't even been on the show just yet, and maybe want to give off their kind of signs of respect and stuff like that as well. Okay, so let's move into the main event. And I was saying earlier on, Rob, I felt like this show even was very top heavy. You know, it started out so big with the Bloodline, but then, you know, you say, well, it's going to end with a no DQ match for a title. Like, that's pretty big. Even if it's not the world title, the US title. Hey, everybody talks about elevating the IC in the US, this is how you do it. You put it in main events and you make it mean something. So,
right, it did deliver.
Yeah,
it delivered.
Hey, it was a good match. I mean, looking at the pictures here, look how wild they get. You know, like we got the fire extinguisher, we got steel chairs. It was a big match, and yeah, they both performed very well. Bobby had actually mentioned Lesnar right earlier in the night, which I just didn't even. I just went, okay, yeah, Lesnar cost you, cool, all right. And then, what do you know? The theme song hits, mate, and Brock Lesnar is back. Of course, F5 is Bobby Lashley, and it makes sense because no DQ. I still didn't see it coming. F5 Bobby Lashley, and just to show he's impartial.
He's got no favourites, man.
Yeah, he F5s Austin Theory as well, but conveniently does it on top of Lashley because he's still a little bit more annoyed at Lashley. Austin Theory gets the pin by chance, basically, and Cowboy Brock rides off into the sunset, having a great time, fist bumping fans along the way as well. Now, again, I know Brock is hit or miss for people, and some people think, you know, he's always doing this stuff. But I think for a big moment, he had to come back for the Rumble. There's rumors recently that he wanted to be involved in the Rumble. Now I think it's pretty clear he's got to be at the Rumble. Great to see him. He is a legend, future Hall of Famer. To return at Raw 30 makes sense. It's not just about having Hall of Famers come back. It was nice to see an actual return. Of course, we talked about the potential of it being Cody. We talked about it being potentially on Brock. Instead, we got Brock Lesnar. I really liked it. I don't know what this means. I don't know where we're going with Brock. I don't know what he's doing at the Rumble. Again, we'll be back at 4 p.m. today to talk about the Rumble in more detail. I don't know. Is he going after Lashley? What the heck's going on? Why won't the Hurt Business? I thought the show was going to end with an official reuniting of the Hurt Business, and I thought, that would be so good. That'd be a great way to end the show. But instead, it ends with Brock Lesnar, and I still thought, Hurt Business are going to kind of come out here and even the odds, but that didn't quite happen. I guess this builds into the argument. Look, mate, maybe you, because he said, "Don't bring it home, us. Don't need you MVP." Maybe you did, Lashley. Yeah, maybe you did. So,
yeah, but I think this is the story now of us going up. Maybe they all need each other. This is that moment where it's like, I need your support. I need your backing. So I think this is the build of we read that Hurt Business 2.0. This is what they.
It's got to be, innit? It has to be. It has to be.
There's one thing you didn't mention though. Not about the match itself. WWE 2K23. Cena being the face for the cover. Obviously that was announced in the show. Quickly, I don't know if you've got a graphic for it. Maybe not.
I haven't. No.
Thoughts and opinions on that?
Well, I don't. Okay, quick thoughts on it. Number one,
don't insult me.
I don't like people getting the solo image more than once.
I agree.
I think Cena's had it already. Number two, I like this whole kind of glorious run of Cena at the moment. I like the idea that the advertising in it that you can go back and make the wrongs right, so to speak, if you're a Cena fan. But it's weird because they all come at times where you barely lost, and they were the ones where we were like, finally, and now they want us to go back and make him win. That's a bit weird, but hey, I'm over it. I'm happy for Cena these days. Next up, I'll say the advertising thing of playing off of the whole you can't see me stuff. Have they actually made that a filter? I hope they have, because that will do so well on Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, wherever.
I thought you meant on a game. I was like,
No. But the advert itself. And my final point on it is that I do not care about WWE games because they've been crap for ages and I don't play them anymore. So there it is. I know I've said this before. Well, they might be good now, Rob. I haven't played them for about
2K22, mate. It's not that bad.
About 5 years, because the last 5 years before that, all the games were pretty much the same, and it was terrible. And then I heard about that one. Was it 2019 that was terrible or whatever? One of them was terrible, and then they didn't even make one. And then I've got on good faith that you have said, Thomas said, that they're getting better again. But hey, I'm too scarred. Look, I'm only just getting back to watching the Raw, mate. Give me time, and I'll play a 2K game eventually.
When 2K30 comes out, that's when you'll consider it.
Yeah. What about you, mate? I'm sure you've got a few opinions on it.
So I dabble within gaming. To be fair, my Xbox does sit there quite a bit, gaining dust, and it does support my other PC.
My Xbox is my YouTube and Netflix machine.
I bet. So it's not just me that's that terrible with it.
Don't get me wrong. I don't game as much as I used to anyway. But
I'm more of a Nintendo Switch. Like,
okay.
Like I'd like playing Mario Kart with a wife. It's so much
I'm more of
a 2K22.
I'm more of a SmackDown too.
Jabroni. But 2K22 is pretty good. Like the story for it, the build up, being able to do certain things, do your like my career or I think a showcase or whatever.
This is what I don't like. Nah.
It's fun. Like do you know what? Generally, I've played a lot worse of the WWE games.
That's not a compliment.
And out of the majority of them,
that shouldn't be the base level. Man.
No, but 2K22. Yes, granted, it's not like shut your mouth, just bring it, know your role. Them three were solid. Even going back to when it was on Nintendo.
N64,
the N64, and that sort of stuff. Was it No Mercy?
Yeah.
That was fantastic. Obviously, we'll not get the retro stuff like that, but 2K22 isn't the worst thing I've played for the year. I've played a lot worse in a year. And I was like, this is going to be terrible. Compared to what we had a couple of years ago, this is fantastic. But I'm looking forward to seeing it. Obviously, we've got War Games, the poster for seeing it. What I was like as well is they're doing, is it the Legacy? You've got 3 different versions, the normal one, the Legacy one, and something else. Of course. Yeah. But the idea of having like old school Cena as a cover.
That's cool. That's cool.
That'd be great. I think they missed the boat though, because they could have had the reverse sleeve. So you could have had the normal one and had the reverse one because you had the reverse jersey. So they could have done it so you had one, and if you wanted to change it, have the other one in as the normal one, and then done more promo for the others.
Maybe I'll
I'm looking forward to it, man.
I won't buy it, but maybe I'll try it.
We should do a Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling gaming.
I thought
gaming thing, and we'll see what happens.
If there's content out of it, I'll have a reason to actually to play it.
What about the content?
I did it for nothing. I did it for fun because it's not fun. I didn't have fun playing those games for years. So the only way it could be fun is if I was playing it and like having a laugh with you or something like that.
Yeah.
Hey, and if the game ends up being fun as well, bonus. But as things stand, I haven't enjoyed a WWE game for a long time. But again, granted, I haven't tried the last few, and that's because I was so stung by the old ones. But hey, again, speaking of being stung, hey, it turns out some things can change because I'm happy I watched Raw, which I'm surprised to say. Like I said,
that surprises me, to be fair.
Yeah, because again, a few months ago, off air at the end of the stream, I remember saying to Lucas, we went off air, and I said, "Mate, I don't know if I'm ever going to watch a Raw again because I was just so I couldn't be bothered with it." Now, one of my big complaints. It's not new. I'm not the only one that thinks it is the 3 hours. And I did think this show still did drag. I watched it in the morning. I background watched some parts of it. I was doing a bit of work in the background. So it was what it was. But even still, I thought, wow, this is dragging. So, yeah, that's my only kind of criticism. But let's go back to the end of the show. Of course, we have Brock Lesnar coming back. Still don't know where he's going to go from here, mate. I guess we'll touch on that a bit more later on because, of course, that's going to bring up, kind of Royal Rumble kind of predictions inevitably. So we'll hold off on that until we come back to later on. But anything else you want to say about this final segment before we do kind of start wrapping up here?
Enjoyed it. The idea of it. What I find strange is a couple of years ago we were moaning, "Oh, Brock's back again. Oh, Brock's back." And we just weren't happy. And now Brock comes back, and I'm like, "Oh,
it's because Brock's happy. Everyone likes happy Brock. I like happy Brock."
Yeah, it's just. He comes in, he gets to wear his cowboy stuff, he
looks like he's having fun.
Throws a bit of dirt on it,
Yeah, it's great.
It's happy. And do you know what? I think this is the best Brock we've seen in a very long time. And the fact that he's able to have fun. The last time I see Brock for a little bit was when he was Money in the Bank. That Brock there when he was doing the dancing, fantastic. But that was a different time. That was with Heyman. But Brock just being Brock, like just being a proper country boy and coming out.
I thought you were going to say something else there, mate. I was like, whoa! Bleep that word! Proper country boy, eh?
He is. Doing what he's got to do and, making money and being happy about it. Like, and the thing is as well, what a perfect way to end the match itself. Yes, it was no DQ. So how do you get around Theory retaining? When Lashley's obviously the bigger guy.
Yeah, you're right. It was still an end of a match as well.
Ending.
It wasn't, inconclusive or anything like that.
No. And I like that it wasn't inconclusive because it showed we had a dominant winner and builds up for Brock versus Lashley but I don't want to say the only thing that I would change, but I would love if they're gonna do Brock versus Lashley, I would like the title on Lashley or Brock. So taking it off of Theory and going on to one of them, because I think certain people can elevate a title really well. Cena done it with the US title. We've had open challenges before, and I think if you're going to do something like that, having the US title on, let's say for example Brock does get it, let's say he beats Theory and then goes on to feud Lashley, that whole build and having Brock retain the US title and make it like a prize and a thing. Whoever takes it off Lashley instantly gets elevated and it pushes that title more. Same with Gunther at the moment with the IC title. It is now in a literal position where you look at it as prestigious because of what he's done with it. And I don't think Theory is the person to do that. That's not to take away from Theory. Certain people just have that ability. Cena had it with the US title.
Well, it's because they are stars already, whereas the US title is helping make Theory a star.
But it's strange how we say that, but Gunther's it kind of in that
I guess it's the type of reign as well. Like Gunther has had such a long run, Theory's just got it back. But I would. I'm all for it. I thought it was good. I don't know where it's going. I hope it goes somewhere good. I think the Hurt Business has got to be coming back from this now.
This is a build for the Hurt Business. I think we're going to see shades of it at Rumble, but obviously we'll get on to that.
But it's difficult as well because Bobby Lashley in the past 3 months has been like, wait, are you a heel or a babyface? So people want to see the Hurt Business back, but they'll have to be heels. So
yeah, I think that's the other thing that doesn't help with Lashley's booking, because 1 minute it was like, I'm going to do what I want to take the title. Then all of a sudden, it was just Bobby Lashley again. Like either book him so he's a menace, to the everyone in the company, or don't, because you had the whole, with the whole thing with Pierce when he was like, oh, you're being suspended and fired and blah blah blah. All that was fantastic because it really made Lashley a threat.
Yeah.
Where's that Lashley gone?
But then he comes back and does the whole doom, which is like, you want the fans behind you. I don't understand what they're doing with him. It's just so backward. Look, I think he's fantastic. I want to see more of it. If he's babyface or heel, that's fine.
Yeah.
Let's just commit to it, guys.
Just tell us what you want us to do. If you like him or hate him, and then when you tell us,
I'll do it.
We'll do it.
Just share him to the boom. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. Especially when you look at the size of the man. Look at that. Woof.
And the guy standing next to you, Scott, he's massive as well.
Hey, come on. But yeah, I did have a chat with Bobby Lashley a few months ago, and we were talking about the match that hadn't even happened at that point, Brock versus Bobby. But so go back and listen to that if you want to kind of hear his opinion on that. Of course, it's happened since, but it's still a interesting interview there. Quick before we wrap up, one thing we didn't really touch on too much, and we just kind of touched on kind of the possible reasons for it, and that's of course the cage match not really being a cage match. I don't want to do what WWE did here and just kind of skim over it. So let's give it a little bit more time. I think. I get, as we said earlier, if that's about like making it a short cage match or making it like someone else, then they did the best with what they had. So I get that. Yeah, I guess it's good for damage control. They used the cage. That was kind of cool. But at the same time, I don't know how to feel about them either, because a few months ago, I thought they were going to be maybe the biggest thing in the industry. Like I thought they were going to have all the titles, but that didn't quite happen. So again, it's another example of more similar to Braun Strowman, because back in the day, I remember always saying, I don't know what WWE want me to feel about Braun, because 1 minute he's tipping over cars and nearly winning the title, and then the next minute he's not doing anything near that fun. So
the next minute he can lose to Kalisto.
Yeah, is he the main event or is he not the main event? And it's it's the same with these guys. I don't know what they want me to feel about them. So they feel a little bit in transition and like in limbo even. But this kind of works better. I think if anything good came out of this, it was that it made Damage Control look good.
Yeah, I think the thing with Damage Control is I think they tried to push them straight away, and it didn't work. And I think because of Becky was injured at that time, right? So because Becky and Bianca had their final match. Bro, when was that? Was that Rumble? When was that match?
No, SummerSlam when she came.
SummerSlam.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So they had the match. I was thinking, Joe, it's because of the long runway. I was thinking it was Rumble from a couple of years ago. Yeah. So they have their match, and then Becky face turns, shakes and acknowledges that Bianca was the better woman on the night and all that sort of stuff. Then we get the Bayley return with Damage Control. Great. Love it. But Becky was injured. So they couldn't push that on, I think, and establish what they wanted to make Damage Control originally. So for the last few months, they've been kind of teetering around. And
I get that. Yeah, maybe the whole thing was it was going to be about Damage Control. But that's, it's not.
It's not.
They could have still done it. They could have still given them the titles. Like they didn't need it to be around Becky Lynch. I mean, it looks like maybe you're right. They put things on hold. They've gone back to their original plans. But I don't think it needed Becky Lynch, did it? It's
I know it's strange, isn't it? It's real strange, strange.
I was just really disappointed not seeing a proper cage match. And again, if anything, it made Damage Control look like a threat, which is something I've also been a bit kind of worried about lately, as I said. But I'm just looking at that picture. I loved all the graphics here, of course. Again, as a child of the Attitude Era, loved it. But even all the TV stuff, the VHS, the promo video they did was really good. I got a bit emotional watching the intro video because it was like, it just reminded me, man, like, I love wrestling. Like it just showed us so many great moments, and I just, we're very privileged to get the chance to kind of go to events and spend time around WWE and interview talent and stuff like that. But just first and foremost, we're fans, and that's the reason why we cover this in the first place, because it is such, as much as we can moan about things, and I think rightly so about certain things, it does remind you when you look at a promo package like that, you think, man, when wrestling's good, it's nothing like it. It's nothing like it, So it feels like we're in
Shakespeare with
our own little club. I love it. It's just what a weird way to end the stream, mate. Just going, you know what I love? Wrestling.
I mean, I hope so.
Everyone's probably think, well, yeah, exactly. I hope so. You're the rest of the channel, mate. But
it's been good. Like I really enjoyed the show. Just on an off topic, still related to Raw. they had the normal intro, right? They had like a normal Raw, the general Raw song, didn't they?
No, I didn't see that.
Did they not?
No, because they started with Hogan was the first thing, and then they did the recap intro. I don't remember seeing the actual.
Oh, okay. Because I didn't see the intro bit. I just see the Hogan bit. Obviously, I was flicking through.
Yeah, I'm sure it just started with Hogan.
Okay, so if they could have brought back, obviously, I don't remember. I didn't see it.
Okay.
But if they did have a Raw intro, and you could have picked out of all the ones that we've had throughout the years,
easy.
Which one?
It'd be the Thorn in Your Eye, the Raw as well one. Easy.
Really?
Easy. Yeah.
Oh,
second would be Union Underground Across the Nation.
Across the Nation is my favorite.
Ruthless Aggression, and the third would be To Be Loved, Papa Roach.
Yeah. So, they were my two. To Be Loved, Papa Roach, Across the Nation would. But I was going to say that has to be number one.
And for me, Thorn in Your Eye is the best one.
Yeah.
And then even the other song, I can't remember where it is now, the one that they used on the graphics for when they showed the images of the past and stuff like that, they used the one that used to be on the fireworks, I can't remember the name of it now, it's by another band, but that one, which they never really used with music, other than when they used it as the main intro before, for a little period, I think before they even went back to Thorn in Your Eye, or just went straight to Thorn in Your Eye, but either way, great memories there. Cool to see the old Raw is War logo back in some form as well. Cool to see a lot of legends again be used in the right way. And again, just coming out of this show feeling like, hey, I probably won't watch Raw next week. I'll probably go back to highlights again. But I did enjoy it. Then again, it'd be the Raw after the Rumble. Who knows? Maybe I will.
You have to watch it. You're committed now, mate. You've got
don't say that. This time next week, I'll be watching Raw and playing WWE games. But anyway, it's been good talking about Raw. It's been good. I thought it'd be an interesting one to cover either way, and I'm glad it was good. Last night, I was thinking, do I watch it live? I was like, oh, I don't know. Do I? So I'm glad I got up. I didn't see any spoilers. I just watched it. I really enjoyed it. And again, I was hoping it'd be a special one, and it was. I know there are probably people out there that think it maybe was underwhelming. It wasn't as good as other kind of reunion and throwback shows, but I think when you're matching up against Raw 25, my expectations were very low. Although Raw 25, having the Manhattan Center and all that stuff was great. They just misused a lot about it, but hey, that's another conversation for another time. But anyway, that was Raw 30. I've been Scott. This one over here has been Rob. We'll be back later today again if you're watching live at 6 p.m. UK time to do the predictions and preview of the Royal Rumble. If you're watching on demand, thank you very much for joining us as well. If you've joined us late, go back and watch what you've missed here on this stream. But basically, we'll be back today talking about the Royal Rumble as well. Then, of course, on the night of the Rumble again, we'll be doing our live build-up show, so make sure you stick around and subscribe for that because they're always fun streams. The day after it, we'll do a recap and review. A little while ago, we did a watch-along of a classic Rumble as well. And, of course, that is very apt because I'm sure you've heard a few rumors about The Rock as well. Speaking of which, we've covered that quite a bit on this channel as well. Possibility about The Rock coming back, possibility about Cody Rhodes coming, well, not a possibility, straight up coming back. He's been advertised, he's on the poster, and they've outright said it now as well. But of course, you see all the lightning there. Everybody knows what that's hinting towards, and hopefully, unless you're Rob, we'll be seeing something related.
It relates
to
4.
Right, and with that in mind, it's been fun talking wrestling with you again, Rob. We'll be doing it again later today. But once again, thank you very much for joining me, and thank you to everyone that's joined on the stream of Live or On Demand. Anything you want to say before we get out of here, mate?
No, man, I'm looking forward to the predictions. That's going to be interesting.
Me too, and I hope we don't get in a massive argument over the Rock. See you in a few hours.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.